everybody, and welcome to the Southern Illinoisan's Pigskin Picks. We're going to talk about a handful of some of the games in the area for Week 3. I'm Scott Meese, along with Les Winkler and Pete Spittler. And boys, we know a little bit more about the teams now after 2 games. Probably shouldn't say what we exactly think about all of them on camera, but what are your thoughts after a couple of weeks, Les, from what you've seen?
There's a lot we don't know about a lot of the teams too yet. If you just look at the numbers on our picks at the end of the week, they've not been that great. There's been a lot of interesting football played. Some of it good, some of it not so good. But no, it's taken a while to kind of sift through and then sort out who's going to be who's contenders and who's pretenders this year.
What do you think, Pete?
And I think really to kind of piggyback on what Les said, I think you really have to look at the fact that teams are just kind of sorting some things out, or we might not see any kind of separation until maybe week 3 or week 4. A lot of teams are 1-1, a couple of teams that are 0-2 and making changes, and it's just tough the first couple of weeks of the season to really get a beat on what the storyline of this season is going to be.
All right, let's get into it. An interesting game. Heron plays at DuQuoin. One of these teams is going to be 0-3, and if you think it's hard to make the playoffs starting 0-2, the only thing I could see is if whoever starts 0-3, if they can win their conference, you can still go 4-5 if you win the conference and make the playoffs. But wow, just an interesting thing, I think, because you're just not used to either of these teams, having that start. What do you think about Heron at DuQuoin, Les?
I wonder what the odds of Vegas would be of Heron and DuQuoin meeting in the third week, neither team having a win. I mean, that's in recent years that's just unheard of. I'm thinking Heron is probably going to come out on this. I think Heron's probably got more team speed. Again, it's at DuQuoin. Strange things happen in Van Meter Field, but I'll go with Heron.
I would have to agree, and just to add something else to the whole Vegas odds makers thing is when I add the fact that Sparta has more wins than either of these two teams at this point of the season. But I have to agree with Les. I think Heron, just from the experience factor, getting some kids back and athleticism, and DuQuoin's still young, still kind of trying to find its way along. And even though it's a home game for him, I just feel that Heron's got too much experience for him.
I was all set to pick Heron, but I think the big thing is the person I'm chasing in this, really chasing, I'm pretty sure is going to pick DuQuoin. So I'm going with DuQuoin just because they're at home, because I want to catch Gary Dennis, and I'm fairly sure he'll pick DuQuoin, and I can't risk somehow losing that. But it's kind of just an odd thing to see it right there on the page, 0-2 for both. But it should be a pretty good ball game, I think. Moving along, I believe this is the last year of Marion and Harrisburg playing of their contract signed quite a while ago. I think it is, at least. Marion's 1-1 and Harrisburg 1-1 also. Harrisburg hasn't had the upper hand on this, really. This has been Marion's so far for years.
Yeah, last year Marion handled Harrisburg pretty easily, I believe, and Harrisburg had a pretty good football team. And that spread offense is just difficult to defend when you don't see it a whole lot, and there's not a lot of teams in the Ohio that have run it as well as Marion, and Marion always has that wild card of speed. So it's hard to pick against the Wildcats even at Harrisburg.
I agree with Les. I'm going to go with Marion with this one as well. I mean, I thought Marion did a good job kind of picking themselves off and dusting themselves off after the loss against Granite City in Week 1, and with Harrisburg kind of being in that same boat as DuQuoin, being young and trying to figure some things out. I'm going to go with the Wildcats in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Marion too. I mean, when you just think about last year's Harrisburg team was one of the best they've had in a while, and they still couldn't beat Marion that year. So I'll go with the Wildcats. Our third game, Waterloo at Carbondale. Waterloo fell to Columbia after beating Heron. Carbondale scored a whole lot of points their first 2 weeks. What are your thoughts on this one, Les?
I gotta go with the Terriers. Apparently, Nick Hill's not apparently. Nick Hill's off to a good start with Carbondale, and I was frankly shocked that Waterloo, who hasn't been a strong football team in recent years, did defeat Heron. So I think Carbondale's. Yeah, I think Carbondale's just going to take this one fairly easily.
I would have to agree. I mean, Carbondale's a better team than Heron, and I think they definitely got some more athleticism than Waterloo, so Terriers win.
I'll go with Carbondale by quite a bit. nobody's proven they can stop their offense yet, but the competition level is going to start moving up here when they get in the South 7 play, and I think that's when it'll be interesting. What could be a very wild game is Massac County at Anna Jonesboro. Massac should be 2-0. I should not have lost that pick. It was one of the few. They should have beaten Freeburg. They all know they should have beaten Freeburg, but they didn't. And then they just torched Charleston last week up north, which I think that they must be pretty good. I believe they have some of their better players that did not play before playing this year, which could make a difference. And Anna Jonesboro, again, it's the turnovers. They're continuing to do it, and they're still able to win, just barely over Murphy. They dug a 3-touchdown deficit and came back. What are your thoughts on Massac at AJ?
Well, I spoke to Brian Nielsen, the sports editor at the Charleston paper. He was here Saturday night covering the Saluki football, and he said Charleston has had a nice run in football, but they have lost almost everybody from last year's team. So he was not surprised that Massac County was able to win up there. It's going to be kind of an emotional night at Anna Jonesboro with the whiteout game for muscular dystrophy. Coach Dietering is intimately involved with that. I think that emotion is going to carry over, and I think AJ, it may be another squeaker, but I'm going to pick AJ.
Pete?
I'm going to go with Massac on this one. You know, as maybe young or inexperienced Charleston was, it's still a heck of a win to go up there and win that. And
What, they score 40 something?
It was a significant advantage. And I think, you know, like you mentioned, it's going to be an emotional night for AJ, but it's also going to be a lot of distractions. AJ is still kind of primarily led by Jay Kemp and Damian Reed, but also had 7 fumbles, 2 in which they lost, and have to hold on to the ball. So at this point, I'm going to go with Massac County just because I think the total package may be a little bit better. So
I'm going to go with Anna Jonesboro just based on the fact that they're at home and that they've gotten the best of this series for a number of years now. And until Massac proves they can beat them, and maybe it'll be Friday, I just got to go with AJ. I think with Kemp and Reed and who's the receiver, Fuller?
Yeah, Fuller.
That's a lot of offense, and when Kemp can throw it and run it, I'm just going to go with AJ. Final game, Sparta at Murfreesboro. Sparta's 1-1. They were only down a touchdown to Benton at halftime before Benton took control of the second half. Joe's got them moving in the right direction, which is nice to see. And Murphy's 0-2. Got all the updates last week. It was 7-14, 21-0 in the third quarter. When I heard it got to be 21-14, I thought, uh-oh, here we go again. And that's what happened. They lost it by a point. Your thoughts on Sparta at Murphy?
Well, Sparta is one of those teams that's just been down for so long that it's really hard. You have to convince me. And I know we got the week 1 win over DuPo, but that's not enough to convince me that they can beat Murfreesboro, who's been right in. Well, they struggled against Carbondale, but they were right in the hunt against AJ. So I'm gonna go with the Red Dogs.
I'm going to pick Sparta. You know, I've had a chance to talk to some people, and have told me that for the first time in a long time that Sparta has some direction and some grit. Now, the question with Sparta is, you know, coming off last week is going to be like, oh no, here we go again. And then again, you look at Murphy, which, you know, is found winning again to be extraordinarily difficult. And you get by 3 touchdowns, you lose it by a point, that just rips the heart out of a team. So I think, you know, I'm just going to go with gut feeling. I'm going to pick Sparta on this one.
I think Murphy will be all fired up after losing that AJ game, and you can't lose that game when you're up 21-0. You just can't, and they did. And I think they're going to come out and probably, you know, get a win by a couple of touchdowns. So I'm going to go with Murphy. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
It's already week 3. It's already week 3.
Yeah, it's one thing I will say is that I covered the El Dorado Carmi game the other day, and this is a pretty good El Dorado team. They may be. I think they will be in the hunt for a playoff spot. They're a strong running team. Their defense played very well. Chase Saylor presents some real problems, both throwing the ball and running the ball. They rose to the occasion, so this could be a good year for El Dorado.
By in the hunt for a playoff spot, I think you meant to say in the hunt for a conference championship when it's all set down in a 7 or 8 or 9 win regular season, right. Possibly. I mean, they're pretty good, aren't they?
They're very good. They look solid both sides of the ball. Their defense played very well. Their line is big and not fast but quick. So they're going to present some problems for some people. It's going to be interesting when they face Chester a few weeks down the road.
Yeah, we've got to wait till week 8 for that.
And I'm not saying anything.
All right, that's it for this week, folks. Thanks for watching, and join us back here next week, and we'll decide on our Week 4 picks.